Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada
हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतेरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 11. Jadabharat instructs King Rahugana. Text number 13 and 14. So 12 was already covered on Sunday. So we'll see these two slokas. क्षेत्रज्ञ आत्मा पुरुष पुराण साक्षात् स्वयं ज्योतिरज परेशः नारायणो भगवान् वासुदेवः स्वमाययात्मान्यवधीयमानः यतानिलः स्थावरजङ्गमानाम् आत्मस्वरूपेण निविशिष्ट ईशेत् एवं परो भगवान् वासुदेवः क्षेत्रज्ञ आत्मेदम् अनुप्रविष्टः क्षेत्रज्ञ आत्मा पुरुष पुराण साक्षात् स्वयं ज्योतिरज परेशः नारायणो भगवान् वासुदेवः स्वमाययात्मा अवधीयमानः यतानिला स्थावरजङ्गमानाम् आत्मस्वरूपेण निविष्ट ईशेत् एवं परो भगवान् वासुदेवः क्षेत्रज्ञ आत्मेदम् अनुप्रविष्टः क्षेत्रज्ञ आत्मा पुरुष पुराण साक्षात् स्वयं ज्योतिरज परेशः नारायणो भगवान् वासुदेवः स्वमाययात्मन्यवधीयमानः यतानिला स्थावरजङ्गमानाम् आत्मस्वरूपेण निविष्ट ईशेत् एवं परो भगवान् वासुदेवः क्षेत्रज्ञ आत्मेदम् अनुप्रविष्टः
साक्षात् स्वयं ज्योतिरज परेशः नारायणो भगवान् वासुदेवः स्वमाययात्मन्यवधीयमानः यथानिलः स्थावरजङ्गमानाम् आत्मस्वरूपेण निविष्ट ईशे एवं परो भगवान् वासुदेवः क्षेत्रज्ञ आत्मेदमनुप्रविष्टः Kshetragya Atma Purusha Puranaha
Kshetrajna Atma Purusha Purana
Sakshat Swayam Jyotir Aja Pareshaha
Sakshat Swayam Jyotiraja Pareshaha
Narayano Bhagavan Vasudevaha
Narayano Bhagavan Vasudevaha
Swamaya Yatmanya Avadiyamanaha
Samayanatmanadiyamanaha
Yatha Nila Sthavara Jangamana
Yatha Nivasavara Jangamana
Atma Swarupena Nivishta Ishe
Atma Swarupena Nivishta Ishe
Evam Paro Bhagavan Vasudevaha
Evam Paro Bhagavan Vasudeva
Kshetragya Atmedam Anupravishtaha
Kshetrajna Atmam Pravishtaha. Word to word meaning? Kshetrajnaha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Atma, all pervading, present everywhere. Purushaha, the unrestricted controller, who has unlimited power. Puranaha, the original. Sakshat, perceivable by hearing from the authorities and by direct perception. Swayam, personal. Jyotihi, manifesting. His bodily rays, the Brahman effulgence. Ajaha, never born. Pareshaha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Narayanaha, the resting place of all living entities. Bhagavan, the Personality of Godhead with 6 full opulences. Vasudevaha, the shelter of everything, manifested and non-manifest. Swamayaya, by his own potency. Atmani, in his own self or in the ordinary living entities. Avadiyamanaha, existing as the controller. Yata, as much as. Anilaha, the air. Sthavara, of non-moving living entities. Jangamanam, and of the moving living entities. Atmaswarupena, by his expansion as the super soul. Nivishtaha, entered. Ishet, controls. Evam, thus. Paraha, transcendental. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vasudevaha, the shelter of everything. Kshetrajnaha, known as Kshetrajna. Atma, the vital force. Idam, this material world. Anupravishtaha, entered within. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. There are 2 kinds of Kshetrajna. The living entity as explained above, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is explained as follows. He is all-pervading cause of creation. He is full in himself and is not dependent on others. He is perceived by hearing and direct perception. He is self-effulgent and does not experience birth, death, old age and disease. He is the controller of all the demigods, beginning with the Lord Brahma. He is called Narayana, and he is the shelter of living entities after the annihilation of this material world. He is full of all opulences, and he is the resting place of everything material. He is therefore known as Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By his own potency, he is present within the hearts of all living entities, just as the air or vital force is within the bodies of all beings, moving and non-moving. In this way, he controls the body. In his partial feature, the Supreme Personality of Godhead enters all bodies and controls them. Purport. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15:15. Sarvasya chaham hridhi nivishtam matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Every living being is controlled by the Supreme Living Being, Paramatma, who resides within everyone's heart. He is Purusha, the Purusha avatar, who creates this material world. The first Purusha avatar is Mahavishnu, and that Mahavishnu is the plenary portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Krishna's first expansion is Baladev, and his next expansions are Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Aniruddha and Pradyumna. Vasudeva is the original cause of the Brahma Jyoti. And the Brahma Jyoti is the expansion of the rays of the body of Vasudeva. Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadanda koti koti shvashesha vasudha divibhuti binnam tad brahma nishkalamanantam ashesha bhutam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primal Lord, who is endowed with great power. The glowing effulgence of his transcendental form is the impersonal Brahman, which is absolute, complete and unlimited, and which displays the varieties of countless planets with their different opulences in millions and millions of universes. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is thus described in Bhagavad Gita, Maya tatavitam sarvam jagatavyakta murtina mastani sarvani bhutani na chaham teshu avastitaha. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. This is the position of the plenary expansions of Krishna as the all-pervading Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parichana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padhan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Syab Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutali Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratushe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripa tamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Vishwaram. Hare Krishna. So, first of all, we would like to seek blessings and prayers from all the devotees over here for giving me this opportunity to speak Bhagavatam. So, I don't have any realizations, but whatever class I have read, prepared, and notes, whatever read, I just would like to present as it is. If there are any discrepancies in the philosophy or in my this thing, please give the corrections, and if there are any, if I would have offended any devotees because of this by speaking something, if there is beyond my realization, please forgive me for this. Hare Krishna. So in these two verses which we have read, so there is a lot of glorification is given about the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, about his various opulences and various features as Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Aniruddha and Sankarshan. So Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he is the source of all the expansions. As covered by in Goloka Vrindavan, he says Kaishora Murti. So he is described as Swayam Rupa, and he expanded himself as Balarama. So he is known as Tad Ekatma Rupa. And not only that, then Krishna expands as Prakasha Vigrahas, Vilasa Vigrahas, and many more expansions. So all these are in the spiritual realm. But in the material realm also, so Krishna expands or comes in the form of incarnations as avatars. So there are 6 kinds of avatars in which Krishna descends in this material world. So those are Leela avatars, Purusha avatars, Manvantara avatar, Yuga avatar, Guna avatar, and finally Shakti Avesh avatars. So these are the 6 kinds of avatars in which Krishna expands or descends in this material world. But the main purpose to descend in this material world is just to reclaim the fallen conditioned souls. Or else Krishna has no other activity. Of course, he does he performs various enchanting pastimes with his dear devotees who also descends in this material world to assist the Lord in his various pastimes. And not only this, there are multiple reasons given why Krishna has to descend in this material world. And Krishna himself says, Jarma karma chame divyam evam yovekti tatvadaha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti ma me pitti so Arjuna. So those people who understands this divya or transcendental nature of the activities and pastimes of Krishna, they need not take rebirth again in this material world. They go back to the spiritual world. And also further, Krishna explains the purpose and the time of his descendants. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharataha. So Krishna says, whenever there is reduction in the religious principles, dharma, when there is a rise in the religious activities, the religious people, so then Krishna descends. And what are the purposes? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya. Paritranaya sadhunam, so saving or protecting the devotees. Vinashaya cha dushkritam, to kill the demons. Third one, dharma samsthapanarthaya, to re-establish the principles of dharma. And devotees, not only this, devotees also do pray for the descendant of the Lord in this material world. For example, if we see Advaita Acharya from Chaitanya Charitamrita, he prays to the Lord, "O Lord, please come to this material world and show the path of devotion service, how to practice bhakti nicely, to set an example." So in this regard, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami quotes one sloka from Srimad Bhagavatam, so which states that Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavata hrit saroja ase shutekshita pato nanunatta pamsam yad yad diyatu urghaya vibhavavanti taddat vapu pranayase sad anugrahaya. So this sloka says, the translation goes like this: "O my Lord, your devotees can see you through the ears by the process of bona fide hearing, and thus their hearts become cleansed, and you take your seat there. You are so merciful to your dear devotees that you manifest yourself in that particular eternal form of transcendence in which they always think of you." So Krishna descends for his devotees, and devotees have various moods. Some devotees have maybe completely meditating on the form of Narsimhadev. Some devotees, they meditate or completely engage in the thoughts of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Some devotees have the thought or meditation on Shyama Sundar form. And Krishna is so merciful to his devotees that he manifests himself that is particular form which they want to reciprocate with. And whoever hears these pastimes of Krishna, their hearts gets cleansed. So for this purpose, Advaita Acharya prays to the Lord, "Please come down so that you create such wonderful pastimes, so it has a nice subject matters for all the material world people to discuss about." And Kunti Maharani also prays. In her prayers, so she also gives few reasons for the Lord's descendant. Kechi dahur ajam jatam punya shloka kirtaye yada priyasyavayaya malavasyeva chandanam. Some say that unborn is born for the glorification of the pious kings, and others say that he is born to please King Yadu, one of your dearest devotees. You appear in his family as sandalwood appears in this Malaya hills. So where now Kunti Maharani is saying, so you appear just to glorify the pious kings. For example, there's a dynasty of King Yadu. And sometimes he also glorified as, since Devaki and Vasudeva prayed for the Lord to beget him as their children. So that's why Krishna comes. And some say that you descend the world since Lord Brahma had offered prayers to you, so that you come to this material world and reduce the burden of Mother Earth. Like this, there were several reasons given why Krishna descends in this material world. But one very important reason is to spread the path of devotion service, so that the people in this world, in this material world, who are suffering, they take the advantage of these wonderful pastimes and the devotional path given by Krishna and go back home, back to Godhead. And it is sheer mercy or compassionate mood of Krishna with his enchanting pastimes. He attracts all the fallen conditional souls. When he decides what happens, we also get the opportunity to participate in those pastimes, or else at least to hear those pastimes about Krishna, hear and discuss those pastimes. And these pastimes becomes our subject matter to discuss in our day-to-day life, to come out of this materialistic talk. So materialists, what do generally speak about? How to progress in this material life, how to earn more and more money, how to engage more and more in sense gratification, and completely successfully remain in this material world forever. But these subject matters of Krishna help a living entity to cleanse their heart and go back home, back to Godhead. So this comes in third canto of Bhagavatam, where Vidura was asking Maitreya. So he's asking, O Maitreya, O friend of the distressed, the glories of the Supreme Lord can alone do good for people all over the world. Therefore, just as bees collect honey from flowers, kindly describe the essence of all topics, the topics of the Lord. So where Vidura was asking Maitreya, the glories of the Supreme Lord can alone good to people of this material world. So just like bees are there. So bees, to collect honey, they go from one flower to another flower, one flower to another flower. So they enter the garden, but they will never be diverted by any things of the garden. So in the garden there are branches, there are people, there are various things in the garden. Dust means various things. But bees are never diverted. Their one-pointed focus to get the honey from the flower. So similarly, any sincere practitioner of Bhakti Yoga is also an essence seeker. So just like this honeybee wants the essence of the flower, that is honey. So similarly, any practitioner of this Bhakti Yoga, he is also known as essence seeker. He also enters this material world, but he takes only the topics of Krishna. Without wasting this human form of life, completely engaging in hearing the topics of Krishna. And this is the mood of all the devotees described in the various scriptures, especially in Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the mood of even Vidura also. There are various topics given, but he wants to just hear about Krishna. So Krishna means what? Krishna, his pastimes, his holy name, his abode, and various other stuffs. So Lord Brahma, in the third canto, he describes the wonderful nature of the spiritual world. So when 4 Kumaras enters the spiritual world, Vaikuntha planets. So there he describes the Vaikuntha planets. So after describing Vaikuntha, Brahma says, who cannot enter the spiritual world? So there he says this sloka, Yanna vrajayanti aga bhido rachananu vadachat chinvanti ye anya vishaya kutatha matignihi yastu shrutahata bhagair nabir atasaras tam sthan kshipanti asharenashu tamasu hanta. So it is very much regrettable that unfortunate people do not discuss the descriptions of Vaikuntha planets, but remain or engage in the topics which are unworthy to hear and which bewilder one's intelligence. Those who give up the topics of Vaikuntha and take to the talks of material world are thrown into the darkest region of ignorance. So these topics of material world which are there, they'll have a lot of impact on the consciousness. They just not enter the ears, they enter the heart and makes dirty consciousness. Their consciousness completely becomes dirty to such a degree that it will not give any chance, or the scope of deliverance to the spiritual world is very, very less. To such a degree that these topics makes a living entity go to the hellish existence, that is hellish planets. So also Brahma also has this concern how to deliver this living beings in the material world. That's why he prays to the Lord, come to this material world and deliver these souls in the spirit in the material world. So one part of the purport which we have seen, so which describes how Krishna as Paramatma. So not just descends as various incarnations, Krishna, but also expands himself to stay with each and every living entity as Paramatma. So Krishna is always compassionate, even though the living entities in the material world do all the abominable activities. Even though by doing all these abominable activities, they take any forms, either as a human being, as a pig, as a dog, as a worm in the stool. So if a living entity takes any form in the material world, 84 lakh species, Krishna is so compassionate that he accompanies. So he will not reject, you're coming in the body of a hog, I will not come. No. So Krishna is very merciful to all the living entities, that even though whichever body we take in the material world, he always accompanies us. So that is the love of Krishna. So just like a father is there and there are children. Children is always naughty, always mischievous, all the time doing the wrong things. But still the parent has that love. Even though how much mischievous he is, parent has that love for the children. So similarly Krishna also, he does not reject us anytime. He is always accompanying us as Paramatma. And Krishna is kind enough to reclaim us back to the spiritual world. But on one condition, that our consciousness should also be proper. Without proper consciousness, Krishna will not allow us. He has the concern, he is kind enough to take us, but our consciousness should also be proper. If not, if our consciousness is not good, still we have that tendency of enjoyment. Krishna leaves us, okay, enjoy for a few more lifetimes. But through his teachings, Krishna inspires us, but not impose. So he will not force us to come back. He always inspires us to take up bhakti, but he will not impose. So there are some tests are also given in our day-to-day life when we are practicing bhakti. Just to test us and to improve our quality of bhakti, Krishna also gives various tests. And these Krishna's pastimes, as we are discussing, are quite bewildering also, very, very difficult to understand even by the great personalities like Lord Brahma and Shiva. So Uddhav describes, so in one of the shlokas in Bhagavatam, so which describes the bewilderment or difficult to understand Lord Krishna's pastimes. So this goes like this: Karmanya anihayasya bhavo abhavo the durgashrayo thari bhayat palayanam kalatmano yat pramada yutashramah swatmanam ratehi kiyadha dhir vidam iha. My Lord, even the learned sages become disturbed in their intelligence when they see that your greatness engages in fruity work, although you are free from all the desires, that you take birth although you are unborn, that you flee out of fear of the enemy and take shelter in a fort although you are the controller of the invincible time, and that you enjoy householder life surrounded by many women although you enjoy in yourself. So there are four contradictory qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. So first thing is Karmani Anihasya. So Krishna has no work to do, but still he performs various activities coming to this material world. So which is quite contradictory. And the other thing is Bhavo Abhavasyate. Although Krishna is unborn, he manifests, he appears in this material world as born. Next is Kalatmano Yat Pramada Yutashtramaha. Although Krishna is the death personified of death, so he himself says, I am the Kala. Aham Kalosmi. So Krishna is that Kala, is the controller of that Kala. But still, he flees away from the war field. So that's why he's known as Ranachor. So it's also very, very contradictory to understand the pastime of Krishna here. And the next thing is Swatman Ratehi Kriyadati Di Vidam Iha. Although Krishna takes pleasure in himself, but still he gets married to 16,108 wives and he enjoys this as an ideal householder. So these four are very contradictory for the Supreme Personality of Godhead to understand his pastimes. So Lord Krishna's pastimes are filled with sweetness, filled with suspense and few sometimes contradictions like this, and filled with excitement also. So all these pastimes which Krishna has done, he is doing all these pastimes. Why? Just to reclaim the fallen conditioned souls to the spiritual world. So there are various kinds of people in this material world. So for various kinds of people, so Krishna reciprocates in various types. For some people, he will test how much he is progressing in the bhakti. For some people, he protects. Some people, he punishes. So in this way, Krishna reciprocates with multiple people in multiple ways. So this the sloka says, right? Ye yataman prapadyante. How the person wants, how the living entity wants. Krishna also reciprocates in that particular way. So in this way, Krishna is there as Paramatma in each and every living entity and reciprocating with the desires of the living entity. So other part of the purport says how Krishna is all pervading. He is Vasudeva, he manifests. So he is the creator, he is the maintainer, and he is the destroyer. So the question here rises, why does he create this material world? What is the reason? Why he should create? So many times this example was given. So there is a world here, there is a city. So in the city, there is a prison house also. So why the prison house was built? So that all the rebellious citizens who are there, they are kept and given punishment for their reformation. So that they come out of this rebellious nature and follow the laws of the government. So similarly, even the Krishna creates this material world only for this purpose. So all the rebellious spirit souls who came from the spiritual world just to enjoy, so he also creates this material world so that people come reform their rebellious nature and follow the instructions of Krishna and serve him. So he's the creator and he's the source of everything. So he himself says in Bhagavad Gita, Aham sarvasya prabho matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante ma buddha bhava samanvitaha. All the spiritual worlds and the material worlds are coming from him only. So if you see, Prabhupada gives one nice example in 4th canto. So one which we already know. So we'll see next. So first example he gives. So just like a bee goes from one flower to another to get the honey nicely. He gets honey, but he stores in a honey hive, honeybee hive. So he stores that there. Similarly, all the material people in the living entities in the material world going from one place to another place, from one object to another, to get some sense enjoyment. So all the material people who came to this material world, so they want to be happy, separate from Krishna. So all the fallen conditioned souls, they have one aim, that is they want to enjoy, separate from Krishna. So they given the chance to come to this material world. But even coming to this material world, they are also not happy. So in them also there is fight. I want to be happy more. You are not. Their aim is one, to enjoy, separate from Krishna. So the aim is one, the people should be together, but no, here also they fight. So similarly, even these honeybees also. So they want to strive for happiness, that is to accumulate honey. And they store the honey in the honeybee hive. But they cannot enjoy this. So when they want to enjoy that honey, the other honeybees will punish each other. So even the people in this material world, they want to become happy, enjoy, separate from Krishna, but still coming to this material world, having that fights with each other. They are also not together. And neither they are serving Krishna, they are not serving each other. And all the time they are in the distress mode. All the time in the distress mode. So honeybees strive for honey, honey, honey. And people in this material world strive for money, 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 money. So this is one of the reasons why Krishna sends these people in the material world, just to reform. And the other example, what Prabhupada gives is, just like a mother, parents are there, mother is there. She is cooking. But the child also wants to cook. She wants to imitate. Child knows that he cannot cook by his own. But he will not, is against this rebellious nature. I want to cook, I want to cook, I want to cook. So what does mother does? She gives the toys. So you play with this, cook nicely. And children, when there is a group of children, they cook. They imitate the parent as if they are cooking. but they cannot eat whatever they want. For if they are hungry, they go back to the mother only. And even the children, they are cooking. While cooking also, while imitation also, they have the competition. I have cooked very nicely, you are not. Nothing is there, but just imitation. So similarly, people in this material world also same thing. There is no enjoyment here, but still there is fight. I enjoy more, you don't have many. I just a lot of sense gratification. So there is a lot of fight. I am the proprietor, I am the enjoyer, I am the maintainer, I am bhakta, bhokta. So in this way, see, when people in this material world fight, there is no happiness here. Sometimes for this to reclaim the material spirit souls in this material world, Krishna does various activities. One of the thing which we described, he personally comes as incarnation with his enchanting pastimes to attract all of us. And also other various ways, just like a mother sends a maid servant to call back the children who is playing, so that if they are hungry they can eat. So similarly, Krishna also sends his personal associates to this material world. So like Acharyas, Prabhupada, and all the spiritual masters, you please tell this fallen souls, come back to the spiritual world. There is no happiness at all. So in this way, Krishna also sends various his associates to reclaim the fallen conditioned souls. So there are 5 ways how Krishna reclaims his fallen conditioned souls. One is through the creation. So what happens through the creation? So the child, as how discussed, the children has a curiosity, I also want to cook, I also want to cook. But there is no cooking happens. But they have that anxiety, a curiosity. So Krishna creates this material world, so that living entities come to here with this curiosity they want to enjoy. So if their curiosity is not satisfied, children will not be happy. So Krishna creates this material world to satisfy the curiosity of the fallen souls. And the next thing is frustration because of the creation. So this frustration also acts for the spirit soul to get back to Krishna. And the other way is through the scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, giving this knowledge of the bhakti and how this material world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. So one is personal experience through this creation. People gets frustrated of this material enjoyment. And when the spirit souls get frustrated of this material enjoyment, they strive, they turn towards Krishna. So how towards Krishna? They cannot see Krishna directly. So they turn towards the spiritual master, or to some saintly gurus, or next to the scriptures, Bhagavad Gita. So we see many people coming over here to our Festival of Enlightenment program. So there are many people who are in the category of distressed. Their whole life is complete distress. Either they are not getting job, some material problem, some or the other. They turn towards Krishna. They want to learn Bhagavad Gita. They want to find solution from Bhagavad Gita. So this is one of the way Krishna gives, through the scriptures. And the other way is sending the acharyas, his personal associates. And finally, Krishna personally descends in this material world as personal incarnations. So these are the 5 ways Krishna reclaims the fallen conditioned souls in the material. One is through his creation, and the other thing is through the frustration of the creation. And the third thing is through the scriptures. And fourth thing is through the acharya, sending his personal associates. And fifth thing is through his personally coming as personal incarnations to reclaim the fallen conditioned souls. And obviously, material world is very, very complicated. Everyone has this wonderful realization. So that's why we all take up this bhakti. Material world is complicated. But Krishna has given a simple method to come out of this material world. That is through the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So if you ask in this BBT picture, so the material world and the spiritual world. So both the picture if you see. So there is one thread going on from the material world to the spiritual world. So the thread is Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. So this is the simple process which Krishna has given for all of us. By just attentively chanting this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, so we can go back to the spiritual world, come out of this all the anarthas. And who has given this Maha Mantra for us? As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna himself, as Mahavadanyaya avatar, come to this material world. Is already there in the scriptures, but he re-emphasized this Mahamantra and given to all of us. So what is the proof? By chanting Hare Krishna attentively, following the scriptures, means basically following the process of bhakti. How can a living entity be delivered? What is the proof here? So Srila Prabhupada's pastime is the best example to speak. All the hippies who are there, so they are very, very much degraded. I did not describe all the stuffs, you already know. So but Srila Prabhupada went with his Bhagavatam and Hare Krishna Mahamantra and gave this Mahamantra and Bhagavatam. And we have seen a lot of transformation. These hippies became happies, and as sannyasis, they are spreading this knowledge of spiritual world all over the world. So what better example we need? By just practicing this bhakti, a living entity can be delivered. So while chanting this Hare Krishna mantra, what happens? One thing is we understand our position of dependence on the Lord. When we are chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, means we are addressing the Lord and His energies. So when we call a person, when we have some need, yes or no? When there is no need, we don't call. And when we repeatedly call that person, when we have a lot of need for them. So similarly, when we chant more and more, so it says or indicates that I am more and more dependent on you, O my Lord. I am more and more dependent on you. If you are not there, if you are not my shelter, how can I come out of this material world? It's very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult. So the more we repeat the Mahamantra, the more we call out Krishna, the more we are getting in connection with Krishna. So that calling out may be any of the modes. Maybe in a mode of service, or maybe we are in some difficulty. I want to come out of this difficult situation. So I'm calling out for Krishna. So in any mood we call, we are getting in touch with Krishna more and more. We are chanting more and more. So we are getting in touch with Krishna more and more. So while we are coming in touch with Krishna more and more, what happens? Our contamination in the hearts eradicates more and more. And our path to the spiritual world, it's more and more. The probability is more and more by chanting. So Krishna is willing to revive our relationship with us. Krishna is always willing. So that's why he's not living as Paramatma, as how Purport says. He stays as Paramatma. So Krishna is willing to revive our relationship with us. But the question is, how willing are we to revive the relationship with Krishna? How intense are we in the practice of bhakti? Are we able to do the service properly to Krishna? Having that intense desire, oh to Krishna, you're taking all these incarnations and you're using various waves to just help me to get back to the spiritual world. What am I doing for you? What am I doing for you? So this is a meditation all the sadhakas can have. So how I can reciprocate with Krishna? Krishna is always willing. So number of times Prabhupada writes in the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Krishna is more willing. He has more desire to get us back to home, back to God, than we ourselves desire. So what reciprocation, what we can do with Krishna? Krishna is willing us. How we can be willing? So whatever opportunities we have got to practice bhakti, what Krishna has given, we just have to take up nicely and practice nicely. So that is the reciprocation which we can do. And Krishna's Paramatma is there. He hears all our desires. And we have all the material desires, name, frame, prestige, vagera, vagera, vagera. Krishna gives us also. If Krishna is giving material desires, satisfying our material desires, why won't He fulfill our spiritual desires? He will for sure. But the thing is, we have to transfer our desires from material desire to the spiritual desire. Of course, without desire, we cannot even live for a moment. So there is a nice saying, right? Without food, we can stay for few days. Without water also, we can stay for few days. Without air also, we can stay at least for few minutes. But without desire, we cannot stay. It's our constitutional position to have a desire. But what desire do we have? Not a material desire, but to have spiritual desires. And Krishna fulfilling from time immemorial to fulfill our material desire. That is a desire, right? We are envious of Krishna, came into this material world and enjoy this material world. And Krishna is fulfilling all the desires. I want some roti, dosa, sabji. Is there? Krishna is fulfilling. So then what do we desire then? It's the spiritual desire. What is the spiritual desire? Oh Krishna, I am your part-time parcel. I am your servant. But since I'm bound in this material world, I'm struggling here. I don't have the realization. I don't have this realization. But I want to get that realization. I want to serve you eternally. 24/7. Please help me. Please help me. Going in front of the Lord, asking this prayer. So when we pray intensely, then Krishna will definitely fulfill. But he may take his own time. But our desire is this. So at the end of the life, it is his desire whether to take us back home, back to Godhead in this very life, or else he gives few more lifetimes. It's completely Krishna's sanction. But our desire is, oh Krishna, I want to come back this very life. I want to serve you eternally, more and more. So this is one of the reciprocation which we can have with Krishna's willing. Krishna's desire is our desire. Krishna desires that we come back home to him. So our desire also, Krishna, I don't have a desire, but since you are desiring for your pleasure, I want to come back home. So in this way, when we render service, practicing all the Navavida Bhakti, even though we don't have that desire intricately, so Krishna will bestow that desire to us. So since you want to desire to come back to me, so I'll give you this. Chalo, take. So when this desire is given, automatically we need not we'll be automatically in an airplane mode when desire is there. So when we have desire to get promotion in the office, or when we have the desire to do more and more book distribution, automatically go and do book distribution very nicely. So there is a lot of difference in our book distribution scores from last year to this year. We have big team, we have intense desirous devotees who want to preach more and more, distribute more and more books. Since we have the desire to distribute, and we are seeing the wonderful results coming over here. Yes or no? Similarly, we can cultivate the desire to go back home, back to Godhead. So this is one aspect, that praying for Krishna, you please come to this, descend into this material world, protect all these people. That is one aspect. And the other aspect is, why to ask Krishna to come back here? So this is in one of the purport Prabhupada writes is, why to ask Krishna to come back to this material world? Let us pray, practice bhakti nicely, and go back to Krishna, to the spiritual world. Why giving trouble to Krishna? So there both are the rasas which devotees explain and relish. So there is another way which I got to know today itself while preparing the class. Prabhupada gives this. Why asking Krishna to come to this material world? Why we only go back and serve the Lord there? Please, in this way. So in this way we have covered so how Krishna as Paramatma helping us, and various incarnations he takes, send his acharyas, books, scriptures, just to reclaim us back home, back to Godhead. So with this I would like to conclude this discussion. If there are any questions, comments, discussions, 3 minutes are there.
Thank you for the nice class. You mentioned very nice points. So this you mentioned the 5 ways to reclaim conditioned souls. One is to the aspect of creation, and then frustration because of creation that happens. Person gets bewildered, then he approaches the scriptures. Then he sends acharyas, and finally he personally descends. So out of this, the first one, creation, how it is helping the person to reclaim. That is one aspect, that when the creation happens, a person gets frustrated. That is the second point. But how through creation a person...
It's just a curiosity, just like the example was given, right? The child is there. Means the child has a curiosity to cook. But he cannot cook. So mother gives the toys. You please cook. So with the curiosity he plays. Means he's satisfied at the time. He's satisfied. So similarly, we living in it, we also want to enjoy separate from Krishna. So if if material world is not created, we'll be always envious like this. We'll be always crying with Krishna there. Means we'll be all the time in this condition only. So when the world is created, so there is opportunity to get frustrated, one thing. So if there is no material world only, where is the question of frustration? Able to relate? I'm trying to. So the kid is there. So he's curious of cooking. So why mother gives the toys, so that he will be satisfied and start cooking. Means imitating the mother. So when he's trying to imitate, finally when he understands, so I'm not getting anything from here. When he understands, when I'm hungry, I want to get back to the mother to get the real food. Means if he's not going back, he's not cooking also, he's just imitating. So we will be frustrated after some time. So we go back to the mom. So when the creation is like just like a toy. So we are curious to enjoy away from Krishna. So when we come to this material world, one thing is we get satisfaction here. Satisfy means basically the creation is made to be satisfied. So after enjoying some satisfaction, when he's engaging perpetually to enjoy this material world perpetually, at one point of time he get frustrated. Frustration happens. Means the curiosity means creation means giving him a satisfaction. Means we are satisfied, right? That's like no Krishna, and we have the desire to enjoy, and we are enjoying. So to one level we're getting this satisfaction. So when perpetually strive for the satisfaction, maybe after many lifetimes, by Lord's mercy we get frustrated. So the creation is made to give that satisfaction. And when this continues, he gets a frustration after a long time.
Basically byproduct.
Byproduct, yeah. It's just a byproduct. So to get the product, the product is here, first thing. Yes.
Is this a shloka that is given somewhere? 5 ways to cling.
I heard from the lecture. Take anything, Prabhuji? Will you? ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की।